Hi, my name's Ian Lloyd from ProCube Services, and this is a video in the series on how to research property data online via the internet. This particular video is going to be looking at how to find sold prices or previous sold prices for a specific property or specific postcode. So as a bit of background, HM Land Registry records the sold price information for all property deals in the UK, and they publish that information after the property has been sold for 6 months. So if you are trying to find something that sold in the last couple of weeks or months, then that information is unlikely to be online. Alternatively, you could try to contact the estate agent, but they're not necessarily going to provide that information to you. So the information that we'll be looking at will be 6 months old to start with. So there are a number of sites you can use to find the information. You could go straight to HM Land Registry at this address here. That will provide the information. Given that it's the source of all the information to begin with, then all the information is there. Although it is more difficult to use the site, and the presentation is not as intuitive as some of the other sites that we'll look at. But it is worth referring back to if you can't find it in some of the other locations. So some of the other sites that we can look at, one is zoopla.com, zoopla.co.uk. If you go into house prices, UK house prices and values, Zoopla has grown a lot over the last few years, and now rivals some of the other major sites for information on property. If we put in a postcode, and we'll use CF371RN and click on search, that will then bring up some information regarding that particular postcode. So it tells us which street it's in and what town and local area. It'll give us a little bit of information on the average prices and number of sales in the last 12 months. You can change that if you want, so you can get it over 3, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So based on the kind of research you're doing, it's quite flexible. You can also look at various types of property as well. If you page down, then it starts to give you the sold information for each of the properties in that postcode. So for example, 27 Queen Street last sold on July 2002 for 60,000. You will see Zoopla provides this estimate. You can click on that and go in, and it will tell you what it's used to calculate that number. I would use some caution with that number. I've often found it to be not very accurate, so it's a bit of a ballpark, but just be a bit wary with it. And so it'll go down and this is currently ordered via address. Now a better order to have that in would be on last sale, so that you can find it in date order. So by clicking on that, it will then provide the properties to you in descending order from today going backwards. So let's go and have a look. Okay, so this tells us that effectively the last sale in that particular property postcode was for 58 Queen Street, and it sold for 132,000. You can also look at previous sales. So it says that previously to July 2016, it sold in November 1998 for £47,000. And you can also look at other property history, which will give an indication when it might have previously been up for sale, but possibly didn't sell. So again, it was on the market on the 17th of March 2016, previously at 135,000. So Zoopla is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at sold house prices is via Mouseprice. So mouseprice.com. You can go in and set up your own account within Mouseprice, which is free, and will give you access to other information such as their fields around what the property may be worth. for the free you get a certain number of accesses, and then once you exceed that, if you wanted to continue to receive that data, then there's an upgrade cost to that. I find, because it provides this worth, which is a little bit like Zoopla's estimate, this is a mouse price worth, and again I find you have to be a bit cautious with that because it can be a bit inaccurate. But if we put the postcode in again, CF37 1RN, and click on search, then it defaults to most recent, which is good, and then again will tell us the properties. So you can see again it's telling us it's 58 Queen Street, gives us a little bit more information that it's a semi-detached, tells us the price, the date, also tells us the number of bedrooms. Bedrooms, it can be, if you're looking and your strategy is around HMOs, then you have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes this will reflect the property as converted to a HMO, so all communal or living rooms or whatever might already have been converted into bedrooms. Sometimes, for instance, in this case, it may be that it's not currently a HMO, and therefore that is truly the number of bedrooms, and it may be that the house could convert to 5 bedrooms. So you'd have to go and do a little bit more analysis, which we'll probably cover in a different video about how you would do that. So mouse price is quite a nice price. Again, it gives you in order, which is good, and you can also sort it on other information, whether it's price information, date information, number of beds, etc., which is quite useful. The third site we look at is rightmove.co.uk. This is my preferred search mechanism. I tend to use house price, Rightmove quite a lot, as well as mouse price, but this would probably be my preference. Primarily because the way it presents the data. So again, you would put in the postcode. You can also then specify the area. So if you weren't finding any properties in that specific postcode, then you could expand the search area. Quarter mile, half mile are probably reasonable in terms of finding like-for-like comparisons. Once you start going out further, then the value of the data starts to get a little bit more dubious. You can look at whether you want it for the past year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, or all years, which again can be quite useful. You can look for different types of property, so you may just be focused on flats, so you could put flats in. And similarly, you may want, again, if you're looking for flats, you may be looking for freehold. So again, you can narrow down your search by using some of these other criteria. So based on the search here, again, it's sorted by date sold, which is good. So it tells us the most recent sales. Again, we're seeing 58 Queen Street. We're seeing that it sold for 132,000. It was a semi-detached freehold, and it sold on the 1st of July 2016, and it's got 4 bedrooms. Prior to that, it sold for 47,000 back in 30th of November 1998. So it's been held for quite some time. If you look at 59 Queen Street, sold on 10th of June 2016. It's a 5-bedroom house, again semi-detached. Sold for 140,000. Interestingly, and this is where you can infer some of the data, it previously sold in 2006 at the I guess close to the peak of the housing prices. It sold for 138,000. Prior to that, in 2000, it sold for 50,000. So an enormous increase between 2000 and 2006. After 2006, the prices probably might have gone up a little bit more, but then obviously came down, and only now are they starting to get back to some of their the prices at the peak. So again, this gives you a good understanding of what somebody might have paid for the house, what one you were looking at may be worth, and obviously you can then record all of this information in your comparables. There's probably not a great deal more I can say about this. As I said previously, you can narrow down your searches or expand your searches as you need to obtain the necessary data. You probably don't want to go back more than a few years. After a few years, it starts to get a little bit inaccurate in terms of the current comparables. It may be that you're doing some specific research or in an area to understand the trends of property over time, so that's useful. but otherwise I would keep to the last few years in doing that. So, this is Ian Lloyd from ProCubeServices.com. I hope you found that useful, and I'll be following up with some other videos. So, goodbye for now.